Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming back. I'm. This might be a little unusual, but I'm going to go with it anyway because it is. It is something that's been hidden from us for 1 year here in Canada. We have a Syrian refugee who has stabbed a young girl to death. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police finally found the person, and he was charged. I was surprised that he was charged because in Canada, our Prime Minister doesn't like this idea that immigrants coming from Syria are charged with any crime. And if you raise any questions about them, the Prime Minister of Canada will call you a racist. In fact, a woman in Quebec, he's from Quebec, the Prime Minister is, she raised this issue and he called her out in a crowd of people as a racist. She doesn't belong in Quebec. She doesn't belong in Canada. But he doesn't say where he wants her deported to. But her, as well as her family, and I'm in the same group, we built this country. It's ours. It is not Syrian refugees' country. I understand why the Syrians are upset, because we bombed them to death. We bombed everything we could bomb. And somehow now, even in England, let's take a look at England. Elizabeth May in England has given the police an order. Do not arrest Syrians. Do not arrest immigrants. If they're trying to escape a crime on moped, do not give chase. Even if they did get caught, I've watched it on YouTube, the police surveillance cameras, if they're chasing someone, he comes at them, they all run. The police run away. They run away. They don't arrest the person for the crime they've committed. They run from them. It always reminded me, like, I was always thinking, why the hell did you even go after them if you're going to run away from them? There's like a dozen officers and one man swinging a knife or something like that. In Canada, if you're a Canadian and you're swinging a knife, you've got bullets in you. But if you're an immigrant, you don't. It's a crazy world, let me tell you. It's freaking crazy. So anyway, here's what's happening here in Canada, where I'm living, not very far from me. In 1 year, they don't want to release any information about the man that committed the murder. The RCMP, you'll see that this has been an order from the government of Canada. Do not give out any details. Nothing. And when they haven't, even to this day, I just looked it up on my computer for an update. There is no update. I don't even know if there's even been a trial yet. Or if anybody even they probably have closed door because they like it that much. We have to be so tolerant. Now, the Prime Minister of Canada, he says, do not do these things. Do not tell anyone. Well, the Prime Minister of Canada has a 13-year-old girl too. And maybe he would like to offer his 13-year-old girl up as a victim. He seems to think, I shouldn't put words in his mouth, but he didn't come to the girl's funeral. He hasn't issued a statement. I mean, he's really big on the immigrants. He's super, super big on immigrants. Super big. Bigger than big. But he has many problems. In my opinion, I understand how he got to be elected because I'm going to blame it on the women vote because it is the women vote. It's his father, Pierre Trudeau. He could swoon the Canadian women. It was amazing. But Pierre Trudeau himself liked to hang around with the Hollywood girls. He had quite a bevy of them, let's say. Quite famous women who love to come to 24 Sussex Drive, which is kind of like the White House in the United States, but it's where we do it in Canada. Our present Prime Minister, the son of Pierre Trudeau, does not live there. He doesn't like it there, so he's not staying in that house, which is kind of strange. Anyway, I want to go on to the Canadian system of law, which we don't really have anymore. We have a guy, Judge Justin Trudeau appointed a guy who would be the head of Elections Canada. Now, I was always suspicious of this person because he's a close family friend. That's how we do it in Canada. The politicians all hire their friends, right? So I wrote to him and I wanted to know, did you ever study English common law, which used to be the law of Canada. It's not the law of Canada anymore. It's Napoleonic Code, which is the laws of a dictator. So he wrote me back. Took him a long time, but he wrote me back. And he explained to me that he got a bachelor's degree in law. He named the university. It's in Montreal, Quebec. Then he got a master's degree in law. Then he got a PhD in law. But he only studied Napoleonic Code. So my question was, if you're going to be head of the Elections Act of Canada, don't you think it would be important for you to study English common law? So here's how he answered that. He said, I learned everything I needed to know about English common law through my associates. Now, that must be true because the top judge in Canada, Beverly M. McLaughlin, who just recently retired, studied philosophy for 6 years, but somehow became the top judge in Canada. Compliments of a man named Brian Mulroney, who's also from Quebec, who also studied Napoleonic Code. He's a lawyer who did not study English common law. He doesn't know what English common law is, hasn't the slightest idea. How about more prime ministers? Jean Chrétien, also a lawyer from Quebec, studied Napoleonic Code. How about Paul Martin, Paul Martin, also a lawyer from Quebec, studied Napoleonic Code. Most of our prime ministers of Canada recently don't know the first thing about English common law. And when they meet the Queen, they hate her. They do pirouettes behind her. Can't stand the woman. They understand Napoleonic Code because the basis of Napoleonic Code says this: the crown is protected from the people. Napoleon changed the word crown to state. Being the dictator, you want the judges in your pocket, right? The judges of Canada have been told by the government to not allow civil cases to be heard, and I have 4 of them. We now have more than 45,000 unheard cases. The government of Canada pays the judges of Canada extremely well. They are millionaires, and they have been told, do not hear these cases. And what's the reason? The government can't afford the payout. The government clearly admits that it is abusing the public, as Napoleon did. And Canada is Napoleon now. We have Napoleonic Code. We don't respect English common law. We don't respect the people. It's an incredible situation now. The dictators rule. I'm watching Justin Trudeau I used to watch him with some interest, and now I don't, because I believe the man is a fop, an FOP, which is a British expression. You can work out what it stands for yourself. You'll be amazed. Humored. And so I'm watching the clock here because I get notices from YouTube that I'm going too long, so I'm going to try and make it fast. I worked for the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. I have a case against them because I won a competition, and I should still be working there, but the woman who took over the position from a man who quit his job, that man's name is, I'm going to tell you his name is Ken Wilson. And I worked for Ken Wilson for 7 months. I know him very well. Ken Wilson never lasted in the position as a biologist, level 3 at the Department of Fisheries and Oceans for more than 2 years. It's always under 2 years he has quit. And when he had told me this, I said, well, why do they keep hiring you back? He said, my wife is a senior biologist here, level 4, and she's tired of watching me mope around the house, so she gets me a job as a biologist again. She hires me directly. So there's the competition process that's gone, and she's done it many times because he lasts in 2 years, and he quits. And when I worked for him, it was just 1 month under 2 years, and he quit. He went under contract. He used my work to help him promote himself, and he went from $58,000 a year to $108,000 a year with expenses, and he got paid through the First Nations group. But he also, just to get onto the First Nations thing, this woman that took over his job, she used to be a slave owner from Jamaica. She came to Canada. She made a fortuitous meeting with a senior biologist at the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and he got her into university. She was paid to go by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans through their slush fund called Temporarily Yours. She went for 6 years. She made more money. She worked at the same company I did, the same contractor, before I worked at Fisheries and Oceans, J.O. Thomas and Associates. That's how she met this senior man. And he's a senior guy, and she's a happy young woman who used to own slaves. She's used to great wealth, fabulous wealth. I know her well. I worked with her for 7 months. I know her boyfriend, Neil Schubert. I know them all. I worked there. I should still be working there. So what does she decide to do? She sold my job. She sold it for a vacation package for 2, and she took her boyfriend, Neil Schubert, with her, and went to a Central American country as a holiday, and they showed me all the pictures of their wonderful time. I said, you know, you can't sell my job. I've won the competition. You can't sell it. But the Public Service Commission supported her. She can sell it. She made demands of me, bribes, and I wouldn't pay them. I got a letter from Rose Calderon, Public Service Commission. It's the Sisters Club. The women gang up on you here. That's how it goes now. They call it the Sisters Club. She wanted that bribe paid, and I wouldn't pay it. I wrote her back and said, I'm not paying the bribe. But these women in Canada, working for the government of Canada, believe that bribes should be paid. Our top prime minister, one of them anyway, his name was Brian Mulroney, he demanded bribes, and he got paid. He got paid in envelopes full of $1,000 bills. He finally got caught. So the Royal Canadian Mounted Police decide they're going to charge him for bribery. They go to court. Then all of a sudden, the cops lost all the evidence. They didn't know where they were. They didn't know where they left the car. They didn't know anything. So the judge threw the case out. Brian Mulroney walks out, brings a countersuit against the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Government of Canada. For how much? $50 million for besmirking his reputation. The Government of Canada paid it, $50 million. They laid down and played dead. Here you go. You're a Prime Minister from Quebec, Napoleonic Code. Here's your money, $50 million. That's a lot of stinking money, isn't it? And it is a lot of money. Anyway, what happened then? This is fantastic. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they wanted it all to quiet down. So then we have two more scandals. Both people who are appointed to the Senate. Sorry, you're probably bored by all of this. But the RCMP took them to court, and then they dropped their case too. They lost all their evidence. They don't know this, they don't know that, they don't know something else. The woman that I worked with, Bridget Anavor is her name, from Jamaica, who used to own black people, used to kill them, play them under the back lawn, they used to sell them. They had sugar plantations, they had tremendous wealth. Until a man named Michael Manley came along, and he won the election, and he put an end to slavery. He's a hero in Jamaica, but she personally hates him. And in fact, she demanded a bottle of Appleton's 151 rum from me and three other people. The three other people paid it. I wouldn't pay it. The three other people still work for the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and I don't, because I wouldn't pay a bribe. But the judges of Canada have been told not to hear my case. I have it. The judges look at me, they rub their eyes, they rub their nose, and they look at the clock. And then they think about the direction they got from the Government of Canada. Do not hear these cases. Do not hear them. So they throw me out. They say, we're going to give the Crown another 30 days. The Crown doesn't even show up. So I asked for a default judgment. I've talked to lawyers about this. That's impossible. It is not impossible. It is standard operating procedure. There's 45,000 more like me. It's probably 47,000 now. The government says it just can't afford it. Justin Trudeau, our new Prime Minister, he says he can't afford to look after our wounded soldiers coming back from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria. Pick a country. Canadian soldiers are everywhere now. Anyway, they're coming back. They're wearing sticks. They got sticks for arms and legs. And the Prince of Wales, what's his name? Harry. His father is Prince Charles. And Prince Charles said since Harry met Meghan Markle, Harry now has a backbone. But he didn't have one before. But now that he's got a woman like her, he's got a backbone. I always thought, why did Charles say that about him? Anyway, he came to Canada, had the Invictus Games, and we're watching people with stick arms, stick legs, and competing against each other, and the clock is running, and everyone is cheering them on. But you know what those people would like? They'd like to have their arms back. They'd like to have their legs back. And Harry goes down there laughing and slapping him on the back. Good job, jolly good, you know, jolly good. Oh, that's a stick. Let me have to shake the other one. You know, I thought it was shameful what he does. Totally shameful. But Harry doesn't see it that way. Harry's, if you look at his wedding, and all the people that he invited, it looked like a rugby wedding. And I mean, there was, what, 2 receptions? The second reception was the party. And George Clooney was the bartender, which he laughs about incessantly. He can't stop laughing about it. I've seen a picture. There were no pictures were supposed to be taken, but somebody snuck one out, and it was of Prince Charles. He's got champagne dripping off of his arm. It was really, I thought, wow, you guys would. But I would like to know how many chicken wings were eaten. How many chicken wings, Harry? You know, I know there's rugby boys, they love chicken wings, because I used to live with a rugby girl, and she's the queen of chicken wings. I don't know what it is with rugby and chicken wings, but they love that stuff. So, the clock is getting away from me, I'm sorry. But I just tell you, the stuff that I'm running into recently, and the people that got killed in Canada, they charge them, and then there's a hush on the courtrooms. You can't release any information. Lucky to get the man's name, which is, if I say it right, Ibrahim Ali. I would guess he's a Muslim. Islamic. So anyway, there we are. I've got to get going. I'm sorry. I'm going to be back because things seem to be ramped up. I'm really interested in what's happening with the American political system. I'm embarrassed by one of my comrades, Jim Carrey. I think it's shameful what he's doing with his cartoon work. As Lyndon Johnson used to say, you do not come down here and piss on my rug. Toodly-doo, everybody. Have fun. Gotta go.